Hi, everyone. I'm Steve here again with Nicole, the gut girl. Thanks for being here, Nicole.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so we're going to talk about cholesterol. And people are like, oh, cholesterol's too high. It's cholesterol is very important. And us being kind of on the natural thought process of doing things, you might want to kind of leave your cholesterol alone because if your body's producing cholesterol, and that's where it comes from, it's not coming from our food. We eat it and it has cholesterol, but that's insignificant. So if your body's producing a lot of cholesterol, there might be a reason. There might be a reason when it's not producing much of it, and what your HDLs and your LDLs and all that. So cholesterol has become quite a bit more controversial in the last 5 years, right? But
Oh, yeah.
it is important in regulating our hormones, right?
Oh, 100%. So I do an intake. I do an intake with my clients when they're in front of me. I don't give them an intake form because one of the things that 90% of the times comes up is that somebody is on a statin, but they feel horrible because their hormones are wrecked. So you guys, when you take a statin, you are blunting the effect of making hormones. And that is, and it just makes me crazy because some people have played the statin game for so long thinking that that primarily comes from food. Well, number one, if it did primarily come from food, then change your eating. But you can't, and this number of 200 that they all want you to fall within, it's actually kind of abnormal to get a 200. My cholesterol is around 300, stays at around 300, and I am perfectly happy with that because I am an aging woman and I want my hormones to still be producing. And I always look at HDL, and if it is low or extremely high, then I know we have a hormone issue. Your sweet spot should probably be around 40 to 60, but it shouldn't drop below that or above that. And I always know I got to look at the hormones then. Also, what you guys have to think about is cholesterol is such a good thing for us to know that there's something wrong in the body. It is like fire trucks that go out and put out fires for us. So that's an indication to me. We got to look further. We've got to dive into the body and see what's happening. And then I look at all the other symptoms coming in. But lots of people do not put the hormone connection with cholesterol.
Yeah, and it's always lower, 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 and that's
Yeah.
not good.
No.
Now, you interesting. You talked about HDLs, and so what happens if your HDLs are 80? Is that what's that telling you?
So to me, that's telling me I should look at hormones. I should look and see if a man's testosterone is tanked and their HDLs are too high, then what's going on? What is the fire going on? Are they on a statin? And we need to fix that and get them off a statin so that I can see really what their testosterone is really producing. That's what I'm going to look at. I'm going to dive deeper into that.
Yeah, very interesting. Mine, I know, the highest mine has been is 80. Now it's consistently between 40 and 60. Um, but if it's high, that means your body maybe is trying to produce more testosterone,
It could very well be. Yes,
which
it could
means you're
be.
low.
Well, and you got to look at what's going on in the liver. What is happening to where you're not producing those hormones? And you got to look at the cascade effect of what triggers what. So before you go into a doctor's office and they just slap a statin on you, you might want to ask the next questions of, well, wait a minute, if you're telling me this is food, I do eat well. Why would I need this?
Yeah, I've had friends that have gone to the doctor. I have a buddy who went to the doctor, and his wife is kind of like a holistic type. She does well, you know him, but kind of does holistic dental work.
Hmm.
And so he went to the doctor and he wanted to put him on a statin as preventative. Well, everything's fine. Well, we just want to make sure it stays fine. And he
No.
goes, he literally did this. He goes, "You're a quack," and walked out.
Yes. Yes, you
You're a
do.
quack and walked out. Now, don't you think blood pressure is much more important as far as monitoring your heart health? I mean, if you have high blood pressure, wouldn't you say that's more of a red flag?
High or low. If you're too low, it's just as bad as having too high of blood pressure. So absolutely. That's yes, that's a great point. Is look at my blood pressure. I have a very low blood pressure, and that's because I have a thyroid condition. Now it's under control. That brings it all back up, but they weren't ever even looking at my blood pressure during that. They're like, every single time I went in there, they're like, oh, must be dead.
Yeah. And
What?
what I do personally for me, and I feel comfortable with this, is I monitor my glucose, and that's coming in at about 75 in the mornings.
Sure.
And I monitor my triglycerides. I just
Yes.
checked that a couple days ago. That was 50. And I'm happy with that number.
Yes.
And I watch my blood pressure. And my blood pressure is coming in about 120, maybe 125 would be high, over 65, maybe 70. I'm
Hmm.
happy with that blood pressure.
Yes.
So that's what I really monitor. I monitor my glucose
Hmm.
pretty much every day. And my triglycerides, I check those, every couple weeks is what I like to do. I don't always do it, but that's what I like. And my blood pressure pretty much every day. And that tells me, in my opinion, everything about my body. If one of those things goes out of whack, if my glucose goes up to 120, I'm going to go, what the heck's going
Yeah.
on?
What just happened? Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't. High for me in the morning would be 90. That
Yep.
would be high. And sometimes, if I eat,
Late.
junk, or maybe I have alcohol the night before or something but when I do that, I always take berberine.
Right. So do I.
If
Yep.
I eat carbs, if I eat a lot of carbs, clean carbs, I take berberine.
Right.
Um, and so that's what I watch. And, my hormones are dialed in when I get my blood work, and that's just me. I'm not the doctor. You don't have to listen to me. I'm just saying what I check.
Right.
But people need to realize that cholesterol is important.
So important, you guys, and it is not important for what Western is making it out to be. It's
Would
different.
and
There is a
yeah,
piece, but
and would you say high cholesterol is not the same as high blood pressure?
no, no, not at all. It's totally different. That there's totally different mechanisms there.
Right. And one's more of a red flag than the other.
Totally. And I'd go with blood pressure every single time. I would go for gut health for inflammation coming from cholesterol or hormone health. A lot of the times, high triglycerides is a good indication to me that there's bacteria in the gut.
Yeah, and you guys got to find a good doctor that you trust and that
Yes,
lines up with,
you're
how
thinking.
you believe is best for your health.
And they will answer questions for you.
Right. Ask questions for sure.
Yes. No,
And
do it.
don't just accept the answer. Ask why. And
Yes.
sometimes doctors get pissed off when you start saying, when you start acting like a kindergartner, and you go, why? 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 If the doctor gets to a point where he or she just says, well, because I said so,
Right.
well, that's a
Wrong
problem.
doctor.
Act like a kindergartner and ask why.
Yes.
And then why to the why and why to the why.
Yes.
And if they get pissed off,
Competition.
you might want to look for another doctor.
Yep.
So Nicole, you do nutrition programs and you help people clean up their gut and hormones.
Yep.
So if Anyone mentions they saw this, tells you they saw this video, you'll give them $100 off your overall program, which is a great program. How do they get a hold of you? And how do they follow you on social media?
You can follow me on social media by the Gut Girl NV, or you can reach me through email at thegutgirl1@gmail.com.
And you're on TikTok,
Everything.
Instagram,
Yep.
YouTube. Are you on YouTube?
I'm not on YouTube, but I
Okay,
am
so
Instagram,
Instagram and
Facebook,
TikTok.
and TikTok.
Okay. Thanks for being with us, Nicole. We'll see you
Thank,
next time.
thank you for having me.